What's up, producers? It is Sam Matler here from EDMProd, and today I want to talk to you about something that not many people talk about, and that is avoiding perfectionism and moving forward with your song. Now, I don't want to unpack this too much without showing you the practical approach or how to systematically overcome perfectionism, and not just perfectionism, but really making better music. So you've probably done this before when you're working on a track and you need to do a particular thing. Maybe it's during the early stage of the track and you need to come up with, say, a melody or a chord progression, and so you spend a couple of hours working on a melody, trying to make it perfect, and you just get frustrated and you end up moving on to a new project or revisiting an old one or watching Netflix. But there is a way to overcome this, fortunately, and I'm going to show you how. And it's important to note that this doesn't just relate to perfectionism. It's actually a way to improve on things you've made. And this is all going to make sense. I know it sounds confusing, but it's all going to make sense as I explain how to do this. So I like to call this the iterative or A/B testing approach to making music. And I prefer the word iterative because you tend to do it more than once. So the way this works is that instead of spending hours trying to come up with a chord progression, what you'll do is you'll come up with something simple and then iterate on it. So you can stop the video there if that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, keep watching, or if you simply want to see me explain it further, keep watching. So let's put something down simple. Let's get a kick. I love this kick from the Alex Klingle pack, Punchy Kick 2G. I just love it. It's a great kick. So we'll chuck down 4 of these. Doing a tip up to 128. And okay, so we've got a kick. That's not a hard thing to do. Normally, you don't have that much trouble finding a kick. If you do, you probably need a better sample pack, or you should buy a plugin like Sonic Academy Kick. Anyway, we've got a kick. Now let's say we want to work on a chord progression, and this is where a lot of people get stuck. Oftentimes it can be because they don't know music theory, which can come in handy. And other times it's just because they're trying to make something perfect straight away, which is not really how the creative process works. You need to iterate. So I'll put down a piano, and instead of spending like hours trying to come up with something complicated, I'm just going to iterate. I'm going to start very, very simple. And what do I mean by very, very simple? I mean one note. So instead of making chords, I'm just going to put down essentially a melody or a bass line. So let's say we have a 4-bar chord progression. Again, keeping it simple. We don't need an 8-bar straight away. And for simplicity's sake, we'll start in A minor. We can always transpose a key later on. During the early stages of the work, there's kind of two schools of thought. Some people argue that you should do the hardest thing first, which in certain circumstances I agree with. Other times it's good to reduce the decision making, reduce the amount of decisions that you need to make so your willpower can stay high. Because willpower is linked to, decision making is linked to willpower. The more decisions you have to make, the more willpower gets used up. So I'm going to stick in A minor. It's easy. Pull the volume down a bit. Make something simple. Oops. Okay. And I kind of like that, but I think it'll be better. So what you can do is, if you're on session view or any DAW, you can do this in a playlist too. We might do iteration 2. So drag this down, and what I love about Ableton is that you can do this very easy. So you can say it 1, it 2. So we've got iteration 2 here. And I might want to change the rhythm. And I'm not sure about this note at the end. So I like that note more, and I'm also going to change rhythm. Obviously you can make more than one change. Perfect. Now, this might seem a bit pedantic, and it is. You don't need to iterate this small. Like, you can do a number of things and then call that an iteration. I'm just keeping it simple to explain the process. So we're on iteration 3 now. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is start making a chord. So we'll start with basically just one extra note on each note, on each chord. So just fifths. Beautiful. And again, we'll do the fourth iteration. So you can see it coming along now. I'm not trying to make something perfect straight away. I'm just focusing on small steps. So now we might add another note. So we might, drag this up. And I'm going to take a shortcut here and just, add 2 notes. Because I think you get the idea now. And I want to move on to something else. And I noticed that kind of leads me to a new idea. So I'm going to, instead of changing it because it doesn't quite work, I'm going to use it for my next iteration. So obviously that didn't work. What are we doing there? G. We just ended up with the same chord. So anyway, we've got this chord progression going on, and this is another part where people kind of get stuck, or they waste time at least. So this is just a simple piano sound. We might want like a supersaw sound. And so what people will do is they'll spend ages looking for that perfect supersaw sound. There's a better way to do it. And again, it's called iteration, or actually, this is when it's more appropriate to use the term A/B testing. So let's copy this out. We'll leave the piano there because I think it's a nice sound anyway. And we'll change the rhythm of this to have a more like not generic, but you know what I mean, like stabby rhythm. So let's make it longer actually. And so now we want a different kind of sound. So super saw. Let's pop into Spire. And what I'm going to do here is, this is really important, so make sure you take note. I'm going to scroll through some lead sounds, some lead presets, and I'm going to find a sound that simply works or sounds okay. It might not be great, but it's just going to sound okay. So I'll pop into, I like the Temple 1 pack, volume 1. Make sure to turn the volume down. Some of these can be quite loud. Pop down to leads, and let's have a scroll through until we find something that kind of just works. And actually, I'm just going to put a pitch thing on here, plus 12, to make sure. Okay, so that just works. So we'll call this lead 1, and we'll mute this and go on to the second one, and we'll keep scrolling through. That works as well. We'll call this 2. And the other thing to note is that these can indeed be layered, which is another good reason to do this. And we might pick one more, just for the sake of this tutorial. Normally you might end up with 5, but we'll keep it simple. And I'm just going to copy that compressor over to all of them to make sure that we have the same type of sound. So make sure they're all full decay, sustain, sorry. Okay, so now we've got 3 leads, and that took, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, right? And we could have spent 5 minutes looking for the perfect sound, or more, maybe 10 minutes. But what I'm going to do is just play through these, cycle rapidly through these. And one way to do this is to assign a key binding to each of the solo buttons. So we might do 1, 2, 3. And now, you can see I can quickly cycle through them. And actually, I kind of want to keep that piano on. So instead of doing that, instead of assigning it to, sorry about this, instead of assigning it to the solo, we won't assign it to the solo, we'll delete that. And rather, assign it to on. So, oops. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now we can quickly cycle through them. And we can also quickly test layers as well, like this. And it's always good to kind of play around the settings, so I might drop this down and have a listen. So as much as I like this one, it doesn't seem to fit the direction I want to go in. So I'm going to delete this. I'm just going to see if this layers well with the first one. And it adds a little bit. We might need to EQ out a few lows, but you get the idea. It lays pretty well. And so straight away, within, I don't know how long I've been recording, let's check. Just over 15 minutes. And at least a minute of that was talking. We've got like a basis for a track. All due to iterative producing and A/Bing. So next time when you make a track, instead of trying to spend a load of time, trying to find that perfect sample or that perfect melody or chord progression, just get started and make small iterative changes on it. Hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comments, and have fun producing.